We're on. We're on. We're recording.
We're on. Okay.
This is
Just a countdown. I want to say blast off.
This is
Huzzah!
what the fauna.
Yes, welcome to What the Fauna.
And I'm Whitney. And
I am Jen. And we are here to talk about crazy, weird animals, and what makes them so wonderful and fascinating, to educate and to make you laugh. If you're not laughing, well, that's on you.
This is really a what's that term when you just travel your mind? You don't really have an order. It's a what is that
Shit
term?
show?
Yeah, shit show. That's one of the words. Yeah.
We do go down some rabbit holes in this show where we're just like,
holes.
Yes, but educational rabbit holes.
Yes. So we go on that in no particular order. We just kind of talk and discuss things. And yeah.
And in every fun episode, I guarantee you will learn something, as well as hopefully, I guarantee you will laugh.
Unless you're an expert on the animal that we're talking about, then you'll probably correct us at some point in time.
Which please do.
Yes.
So just know our credentials. I love animals. Period. Whitney has I don't know, a wall full of credentials and certificates and everything. And he's actually he knows stuff. I just kind of go, yeah, it sounds cool.
I drink and I know things.
Yeah, okay. What, Tyrion?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Game of Thrones. It seemed very intense.
I worked in the zoo field for 15 years. My degree's in animal ecology with specialization in wildlife care. And then I just got another certificate. Now I'm Karen Pryor Academy certified training partner. Which is a positive reinforcement. That's mostly with dog training,
Woo-hoo!
But Karen Pryor is
Does that sound like Cheers?
Yeah.
Or something terrible in a bathroom?
Karen Pryor was one of the people who started the whole positive clicker movement thing in the 80s. And anyway, her academy's still going, and I just got certified with them for behavior work.
And that is one of the hardest certificates to get for dog training, I believe.
I wouldn't say that. Can't compare. It was not easy. It was definitely stressful in my life. It was more stressful than a lot of the college courses that we got for my bachelor's.
And longer too. College classes are usually over in a semester.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, this was just 6 months. It was 6 months, but then you had to finish some other things, so you had some extra time. But it took a while to get it official.
But you learned a lot. Totally worth it. Your dogs are wonderful. Whitney likes smart dogs. I like dumb dogs.
I like smart, high drive dogs for some reason.
Yeah. I like dumb dogs that never question when you take the leash off. They kind of go, oh, I still am going to listen, right? They don't think. I love bulldogs. I love potatoes. I really like potatoes.
I suggest potatoes for many people. I should get a potato, but I don't. And
potatoes make wonderful dogs.
Yes. So anyway, that's our our credentials in that. We actually met in college. She's got.
I graduated. Woohoo!
She graduated with her bio illustration. So we had a lot of biology classes together, and then she did the art thing. So it was combo art and that.
Yes. So I like to dissect things and draw them. Whee!
Yes. And every week we pick either an animal species or an animal subject. And we continue talking about that. And actually, this one you picked, and it was something that we talked about briefly when we were talking about convergent evolution.
Yeah, evolution.
Yeah, and with this one, which we
got into we went to a little segue with this one because we started talking about birds are bipedal, two legs. That's usually it, except no matter what, every rule in nature, there is an except. This was an exception because this bird is arguably quadrupedal at least part of its life.
I'll argue against that, but
okay,
we'll get into it.
All right. And I'm going to slaughter the name again because I listened to 6 different ways to say this name.
Yes.
The one I'm gonna go with is Hoatzin.
Okay.
I also heard it called a Hoatzin.
All the experts that
Woots.
I see in the field are calling it a Hoatzin.
A Hoatzin, not a
Yeah.
Wootson?
Yeah, even when they spell it out phonetically, they're like, "This is how you pronounce this,"
Okay.
and is the Watson.
I'll try to do that, the Hoatzin.
Yeah.
It's actually the name is, these birds
Watzin
are
or
native
Watson.
to
One of the those are the two ways. Yeah.
okay. Watson, like Sherlock Watson?
Watzin or Watson.
Watzin? I like the
Watzin,
stress of the Z.
Watson.
But they're
Something
found
like
in
that. Anyway.
South America.
Yep.
The name is, an indigenous tribe name.
Oh, and let's spell this for people too, because we're pronouncing
yeah.
it, and it does not. What we just said is not how it's spelled.
There is no W.
Hoatzin.
Watson.
Put that on a spelling bee and make the kids go,
Watson. Oh, come on. I saw the order that these guys are in, they are their own order. They're their own order. They're their own genus, their own species. There are no others of them alive.
Extant, yeah. No
but
other.
yeah, no, the order Obstithococamus. That's another great spelling bee word. I think Opisthococomus.
That's the genus. Opisthococamus is the genus.
Oh, sorry.
That so it would be the what is it? It's the same thing, but with an MAE, I believe, at the end.
Okay. So these guys I consider quadrupedal in part of their life because they are using their wings to walk, climb, move.
Climb, yeah. Mostly climbing.
A little walky too. Yeah. All right. So these guys, like I said, South American bird. Did I mention it's a bird? Yeah, I think I mentioned
bird.
It's a bird.
It's a D.
Bird is the word. This is our first bird. Woohoo! So I'm not a huge fan of birds. I don't know. They're all beady-eyed and shit. But these guys are awesome.
Birds. Training birds is fun too. Yes.
I don't like birds. They poop everywhere.
Actually, yeah. When I was in the zoo, I did cover the aviary for a year or two, and
you get pooped
every time
on?
I came in the break room, people would be like, "You got something on your head," and I'm just like, "Yeah, it's bird shit." Literally was in an aviary with like 200 birds above my head. Yes, I know.
No, I did not look up.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with my mouth open, going,
I just don't care. I'll clean up at the end. It's gonna get.
I'm trying to teach young children not to look up and when the geese fly over. Oh, look, geese! No, don't look up and open your mouth. Nope, not snowflakes.
I like birds. Yes. They're cool, and they're evolutionary. This one's
they're evolutionarily pretty cool, but I never know what those bastards are thinking. Except these guys. So I go look up a picture of them. They're all smiling. They're all like reptiles and birds. Most of the time their beaks kind of go down at the end. So it looks like they're frowning.
For those that do know lots of species, they're kind of similar to a giracucu or a turaco in appearance.
They have a big crest-like mohawk. They've got a blue face with like these maroon eyes. It's a pretty poppin' looking face. They look like they've got a sense of humor. I dig it. But of course they've got the really bright, colorful feathers because they are part of the birds that do the little mating dance. The guys pull out all the stops and try and show the girls how sexy they are and how they can wiggle their booties. Like, look at me, look at me. They're also just kind of funky fun. They're very social. They will stick around in large flocks, hang out, make all sorts of weird different calls to each other. Not just like bird calls, but they'll make like grunting and squawking and just like it's pretty easy to tell when these guys are around.
Yes.
They're loud, they're clumsy. They're really not the best flyers. They can fly. They're not the best at it though. We'll go into the reasons why. They've got some evolutionary badassery.
Interesting because they usually are actually by waterways, and that's generally where they hang out. And
where they build their nests.
Yeah, and the reason they do that is because they're young to get away from stuff. Just
this is awesome.
Dive. They just like fall. They're like, oh god, something found me, and they fall into the water, and then they swim to the shore, and then they use those claws that we talked about to climb themselves up the tree to get back. But that's
Which
their
is just
escape
amazing.
method.
So some of
I'm
their
like,
main predators are hawks and things, which will
yes,
see a nest, and they build their nest over the water specifically because a hawk will be like, "Ha, babies!" And the babies like spot it and just jump out of their nest, and they swim underwater. So they're not swimming on top of the water. They dive
dive
deep
for
into
a
the
little
water.
bit, and then they come up, and then they climb back
They
up to where they need to be.
it is awesome. So
I'm actually surprised more birds don't do that because
it's
the
such a
thing that
great strategy.
yeah, and the thing is, like, I talk with every year when I was working in the zoos, or even when I was in college working at the wildlife care clinic, which is a wildlife rehabilitation spot. Every year we have to deal with people because everybody wants to pick up baby birds. Because the thing is, nothing learns to walk on its first try. All you parents know this. Birds don't fly on their first try. They fall. So the babies are always spend some amount of their life on the ground, and the parents just feed them there. But if they had this bird, if more birds took up this strategy where they could actually climb back up into the nest, I would have had way fewer calls to deal with.
This is why I'm arguing they're kind of quadrupedal. So for everybody who doesn't know too much about bird anatomy, wings. So they have, think of your own arm. They have a shoulder. That's what's attaching to their main body. Then the wings go back a little bit, which is an elbow. Then they come back forward toward the head and they hook there. That's a wrist.
Yes.
But the long piece out, so when you're eating the chicken wing, the part that's not really that tasty, it's all bony, that is the equivalent of fingers, mainly the fourth digit, because they don't have thumbs. So it's kind of your ring finger. So the Hoatzin, the first
C2.
C2? Okay.
Yeah. Which you have to. Yes, I went on deep dive on this. Go on.
Here's where Whitney teaches me stuff, because
yeah. Go on. I want to see where you're going.
So the first two fingers, basically your index and your ring finger, they have, and they're claws on them. So those are the two that these little baby Hoatzin, which are just these little black balls of fluff, are just like digging into wood, just climbing their shit back all the way up, like freaking rock climbers, being like, you know what? And they're doing this at like a week old.
Right.
Dude. I mean, if you think about it, if that was their house, they are now 20 houses lengths away from where they were born. Most of us at the age of 5 couldn't find our way home at 20 house lengths away from our house. They're just like, yep, know where I'm going, up that shit tree. I wonder if they ever get it wrong.
I know.
Like,
they got to at
wrong
some point.
nest.
Well, it's possible they nest during the flooding season in their area. So I'm like, there's a lot of water.
Yeah.
So
the babies swim really well.
Just know that they go to the next tree.
But here's the fun part too.
Well, they don't want to stay. Actually, that would make sense because they wouldn't want to stay there once discovered, because then the predator knows where that hiding spot is.
True.
So they want to change.
So the Hoatzin, though, like, it's not just mom and dad, because they're somewhat monogamous, kind of more or less. But
barely any birds are. Some great studies on that.
Oh, come on, but the swans and never mind, we'll go into that later. But they only have eggs every year, and they usually don't have eggs their first year. Like, they have to be 2 years old before they start mating, because I don't know, that's how they do it. They like some emotional maturity.
No, actually, that's not why. That's not why.
I was making up why, but okay.
The reason why is because the first 2 years after maturity, so it's actually age 3 that they start doing their own. The first 2 years, they're group nesters.
Yeah.
So all the young from the previous couple years are actually assisting in the care of their younger brothers and sisters.
Yes, which is amazing.
Which this strategy works really well, because then we found in the zoo field that when birds do this type of strategy, they have a much higher success rate because they've learned how to take care of young before they have their own young.
Oh, that's nice.
Because if you take those birds and they never experience that, they are horrible parents. Their success rate goes, they have like a 20% chance of not abandoning them if they don't get.
I think that goes across species, not just there. Do a lot of birds do this?
Yeah, a lot of birds do the.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yeah, there's actually a lot, like the Gira cuckoos do that I'd mentioned. actually maybe
But
some
it's kinda
Tarakas.
neat. So you got all the big brothers and big sisters also
Yes.
looking out for them, and they only
Yeah.
have 1 to 3 eggs a year, so
Yeah.
they're
2
fairly
to 3 is
low.
really rare for them. They
Yeah,
usually are just doing the 1 at a time,
but they're
usually.
putting a lot of resources into that one
Mhm.
very successfully. I mean, these are, I believe, considered of least concern.
Yeah, they're least concern, although they do think over the next 3 generations of them, which they lived, I wanna say 10, so that would be basically 25 years-ish
Mhm.
time, they're gonna lose 25% of their habitat because humans are fantastic, and this is the
Humans are
Amazon
wonderful,
rainforest,
yeah.
and we don't stop chopping it down, we gotta do things.
Yeah, right? But because they're kind of in those marshy areas, they are kind of being left alone a little bit more.
Yeah, because 'cause they're in
Also
the flood regions, they're in the
yeah,
floodplains, nobody wants to build there.
they're perfect chicken size. But
Yeah,
why, Whitney? Why are humans not just eating these
they do.
badly flying, mostly ground type birds? Why are we
Well,
not eating them?
they don't eat them a lot because they stink like cow manure.
Yeah, there we
Exactly what they
go.
smell like.
One of the nicknames for them is the stink bird, also the skunk bird. They
Yes.
smell really bad. So I thought originally, my bad. I thought it was because, like most animals, they roll
Mhm,
around in their own feces to make themselves unappealing. It's not it at all.
mhm.
Do you
It's
did you deep dive into why?
Oh, yeah, I deep dived into
It
why
was so cool.
they
Alright,
they
so
have a
one of the
foregut.
reasons they're bad flyers is because
Yep,
they don't have as much they have that the big sternum that the flight muscles usually attach
yeah.
to. The
The
Hoatzin
wishbone, for those
don't
that don't know. You're
yes.
breaking that whole bone out stretches out because if you create surface area, then you can have more muscles. So most birds that fly have that big wishbone thing, so they can have tons of muscles to flap their wings. Their pecs get bigger
It's
because they
not
have
just because it's tasty. It is
yes.
tasty.
So
But
basically, it's
yeah,
where your sternum is, and it shoots straight out just so that their pecs and the breast muscles can get huge.
mhm,
And
but the
then,
Hoatzin don't have that. They
well,
I
they
mean, they
have it, but it's
do.
not as big as other birds at all. Uh,
Exactly. It's not as pronounced as most,
no.
like, really flying birds, like those birds that fly for, like, 5 days at a time
Yeah,
without
it's a
sleeping.
weird shape too because it's lower down. It's a lot more. There's other birds that have that, but
So a lot of times, actually, they'll sit on, like, they'll have their back feet on a tree branch they're sitting on, and they'll just rest their sternum on it,
yeah,
kinda like how most of us sit at a buffet.
yeah.
Kinda just
So
ugh.
most birds are not foregut fermenters. In fact, I could not come up with an example of another one that does this, which a foregut fermenter means it's forward, um,
Like a
like a cow.
cow.
Like a lot of those anything that
Cows,
kind of
sheep,
spits up
goats.
cud basically is a
Mhm.
foregut fermenter. But usually
They're
we see that in mammals. Now we're seeing it
mhm.
in this bird because this
It's
bird,
a very odd adaptation, but because of that bacterial fermenting going on, and it's in front of the stomach, like
well,
Whit
it's
said.
yeah, and it would be well, it would have to come after they've decided to start eating leaves because these guys are leaf eaters, which most
Mhm.
things don't eat leaves because eating leaves is very inefficient because they're covered in cellulose, and cellulose is hard to digest. The animals that
Most
you see that
animals do it by chewing it, but as we know, birds don't have teeth.
raw, but another adaptation
Here we
unique
go.
to this bird is it has a chewing mouth, which is not normal for birds. It
Yeah,
actually it does the same thing that that other animals do with the way that it grinds and its beak together. So it does chew.
it
It
does chew. It
actually
doesn't have teeth,
chews.
but it does chew.
It does
It
chew and grinds
starts
the
to break it
food
down.
just like uh the mammals do, only not with teeth, but with a beak. But yeah, they have a completely different jaw structure, which also is why they're in their own thing. They have a foregut, they have chewing mouth, which most birds just kind of peck and swallow whole and let their
Yeah, so they kinda break down that
crop
cellulose of those
uh
leaves before swallowing it,
yeah,
and in there, though, they have an enlarged esophagus and crop. Like, most
yes.
birds have a crop to help grind food. Well, this is
Mhm.
an enlarged esophagus and crop to aid in bacterial fermentation, and
Correct.
what's fun is genetically, they've got thousands of bacteria in these things, and
Right.
it's big. They have some of the exact same bacteria as goats and sheep and cows
No,
do.
no, they don't.
Some of the species are the same.
Some. but very rare. I read the
Yeah,
study
but
that
still that some of them are is cool.
I read the genetic similarities of it, and it was so low. They basically the thing that was surprising was they did that. They found them, and then they looked up to the DNA that they found in all the bacteria in there, and they found so few that actually matched up with any other thing. So, but
They have a whole set of unique bacteria.
98% of it was just new stuff. Like over 90% of this was like bacteria that we didn't even know existed that could do this fermenting process. So we don't even know what they have. We don't know. Nothing else has it.
But I don't know. I mean, so because of this fermenting process, which can take so they have to eat a lot to get enough to get the energy out of this stuff. So they go out and gorge themselves, fill it all up. It'll take up to 45 hours for this fermentation process to really get going so they can push stuff into their stomach and intestines and get the nutrients out of it. During the fermentation process, though, it smells bad.
Yeah,
think of like the worst belch ever.
Well, no, everyone who smells it describes it exactly like manure. So just go to the manure pile. That's what these birds smell like, and they're burping it up.
Yeah, they're burping it up. So humans tend to be hesitant to eat them.
But they
also
do eat
read their meat tastes bad too.
Oh, okay.
What was it? Is they were just people who've tried to eat them are like, no, it's
nasty.
not a tasty animal.
It has whatever they're using for their thing, and of course, one of the other things, the way that they give this, because anything that uses for basically the bacterial flora to digest something needs to get infected with it, and the way that they do it is they vomit it into their babies' mouths. So they're doing the feeding, which is
pretty normal in
pretty common and normal. They did find some bacteria matching up with pigeons and a few other things. They found actually very little. They were expecting more matchup with bovines and whatnot. They found almost nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
See, so like all good science, I may have read an older article. You know, there was probably new research. Whitney read a newer article.
Oh, yeah. No, I went into a deep dive. My initial research could only find 96 and before. So then I went into a deep dive and I found a bunch of sources that were less than 5 to 8 years old.
Awesome.
So
that's
basically
the fun part about science. Again, we keep learning and keep
I think that
renewing our ideas.
I'd have to find out for sure because I obviously didn't have like a super deep dive. I'm not an expert on these or anything. But what I found was that was kind of the assumption that they'd find was that those bacteria would be somehow in there. Turns out there's nothing. It's all like
it's barely anything.
And they're like, what is all? We don't even know. And because that's
we're gonna learn.
That study only looked at 6 individuals, so they only
Well,
which when you're doing that much genetic stuff, you don't have time to get like
because we're talking about hundreds of thousands of bacteria in these.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're only the size of a chicken, but
and then
there's a lot.
That was enough to at least go, okay, well, we can get the general consensus of what's similar between these individuals from different areas to see where that is. But yeah, this species was very interesting to look up because they also had that grinding thing. Now, the reason we started looking at them though was because of that little claw.
2 claws. 2 claws per wing.
2 little claws. The thing is, though, that's not what's weird about them.
It's part of what's weird about them. Part of it.
No,
I think it's part. I think the fermenting gut and that.
But here's why it's not weird for them. The claws they have, ducks have them, chickens have them, ostriches have them. All these animals have those claws.
But the Hoatzin use them.
The Hoatzin use them. Well, actually, the others use them for fighting. That's why those birds beat you with their wings.
You know, another reason I try not to get near birds. Yes. I don't really want to get beaten on.
Yeah, they use them for climbing, but and the thing is, theirs go away as they age. The chickens and all those keep them as
they
adults.
Keep them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hoatzin, they keep them until they're, like, juveniles, so they keep them pretty much, like, till they're about, what is it, like, 4 to 6 months old,
Yeah.
when they no longer really need to, do the
Yeah.
deep dive and swim.
Look. Yeah. I mean, I've
Oh,
fought an
wait,
ostrich,
so
but I didn't have to, like, I never got hit by the wings, so I never can feel the wing little claw
the
spur
little
thing.
barbs.
Yeah, it got confused once I grabbed a stick. Which is generally what you do. Don't hesitate or they will F you up.
I had geese for a little while, that neck is so tempting, you just grab it, like,
Oh, yeah, and you
yeah.
grab it, and then I
Oh,
did the same thing with a swan. They're like, "I'm gonna kick your butt," and then I'd, like, grab its neck,
grab their
not
neck,
to
they're like,
hurt it, just
"Ah,
to
that wasn't
get
part of the
control, and then you
plan."
take that moment, and then you just tuck their wings in, ostrich or that, and then, yeah, the ostrich you gotta pick up too and keep its legs away from you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
it's,
you bear hug it, hold it by the neck, and then just let it and then lift its weight legs off, and they just kick into the air. And if they don't have anything to kick off of, it's not as big a deal.
okay, alright, I'll remember that when I
I was
wrestle an
watching Critical.
ostrich.
I was watching Critical Role the other day, and they were doing some weird thing because they all had a sick day, and then somebody chimed in with, "What animals do you think you can beat up?" And the 3 animals they listed in the show were a German Shepherd, an ostrich, and a kangaroo. And I was like, I
Mm.
fought all of those in my life.
Actually, we will do an entire episode on there's a British government agency that checks, or maybe it's American. Is it a government agency that polls people every year in America and Britain and asks them what animals they think they can beat up barehanded?
Yes,
It is
that's what they
hilarious.
referenced.
We will spend an entire episode on this because I track it every year when it
Because
comes
people
out.
are way more confident than they should be.
Right?
Oh my god.
Imagine,
Anyway, yeah.
yeah, just go think about how you could kill an elephant with your bare hands.
Oh, that ain't happening. No, the animals I like.
Right?
Yeah, because I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, there are more people than you
that
realize who
that think they
think they
can do
can
it,
do it.
and you
If
got to be
you're in a
mad.
Walmart, there's at least 20 people
Yeah,
who
and
think they can do it, and I'm over here going,
they're
even if it's passed out on the ground.
Yeah, and I have my
Anyway,
techniques with, like, dogs because I mean, I do dog behavior work now, and I specialize with aggression. So of course I've ran into a German Shepherd that wanted to kill me.
I specialize with aggressive animals. I don't know why I keep running into them, though.
I know what's going on,
Hmm,
but like
novel.
there's so many things where I know what to do that I do not tell my clients to do it because the amount of skill level to do it is much higher than the average person can deal with, and they're just going
Makes
to injure
sense.
themselves if they try. Because it's
Okay,
yeah. Anyway,
so anyway,
on
back
back
to the
to the bird.
Watson. The
So
Woodson.
their claws. Let's go back to the claws. The original reason.
Okay.
So their claws are actually in birds all over the spectrum. This is a very common feature. The problem is most people don't know they exist because they don't use them like this guy does, and they're hidden under
Usefully.
feathers. They're hidden under feathers. So most people just don't even realize they're there because it's not all ducks and it's not all chickens. It is ostriches as a species. So yeah, but they have like there's all sort that growth just happens and shows up a lot. So that is a thing that comes back and goes away evolutionarily in time. And also, it turns out it's not even related to the Archaeopteryx. Like that, the way that digit and claw work has nothing to do with the Archaeopteryx because the
Okay,
Archaeopteryx.
wait, we're gonna have to stop. The Archaeopteryx. We're gonna have to go through what
Oh
okay.
yeah. So the primitive
Whitney, what
bird
are
thing
you
that nobody
talking about?
knows.
What is the Archaeopteryx?
That's the bird thing. The bird lizard.
Bird,
The bird
a
lizard.
prehistoric animal. The one you guys probably
Everybody generally knows.
99% I've seen. It's a big chunk of looking sandstone looking thing. Bird kind of looks like, I don't know, kind of looks like it's doing some really intense Cirque du Soleil
It
yoga
looks like a
with its
cross
head
between
almost touching its butt.
It looks like a cross between a velociraptor and a chicken. Like
Kinda it does. It's got feathers, but it also has
it has the
scales. It's
lizard
got a long
face.
feathered tail.
Yep, and it has 3 claws
It
because
has 3 claws.
its wings are its like the 3 front fingers have claws like other like the raptor things, the
Mhm.
velociraptor type dinosaurs. They all had those 3 claws, and that's what the Archaeopteryx had.
Yes, and that is the most famous. There's a whole group of these
Right.
reptile lizard birds that are kind of like they're trying, when scientists are trying to figure out where
Where
did dinosaur become bird.
right.
These are kind of these intermediate species.
So those claws went away, and then these guys got them later on.
Mhm.
So this
Another
claw that they
convergent
have is not.
evolution. Woo!
Yeah, this one has nothing to do with those claws. And I went into a whole deep dive about the fusion of dinosaur bones to compared to avian bones, because even to this day we don't actually know how that happened. Because you remember from our convergent evolution class, Genevieve,
Woohoo!
bones tend to either fuse together or just go away.
Yes,
But more often
they
than
call
not,
it
they tend to
vestigial
fuse.
if
Yeah.
they're still
Well,
there, but kinda.
but yeah. But
Oh, I'm gonna throw one out here that Whitney's probably gonna correct me. Like a dog's dew claw, it's vestigial.
no, that has a purpose.
See, I said,
That's also known as a grooming
that's
toe.
that's a myth, yeah.
It's actually
And by the way,
the
people, you don't need to remove them from your dogs. I have one
yeah.
dog, that rescue, he doesn't have them, and it's just weird.
Yeah,
Like, it's like,
so
"Oh, they removed them. What? Why?"
yeah, and well, I have one pup that has it's polydactyl. She's going to get hers removed, but
That's
she has
extra.
she has those vestigial ones in behind that are that actually has extra toes, and they don't have a
Okay.
bone connection that's going all the way in. So we're just going to remove those because that's just a genetic weirdness caused by lots of inbreeding.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah,
Yes.
don't
No.
inbreed your
The grooming claw does have a purpose. It's
Okay,
literally to
we'll
groom.
handle it later,
That's why
alright,
they
that's a
scratch. A lot of animals actually have that little kind of tiny toe that just is used to like rake through your fur to uh to
that's
comb it,
cute.
basically. Um
Wait, so
Kangaroos
the
have it. They have
Woodson, we're
two
talking
toes put
about
together.
the breaking, like, the branching off of
So
evolutionarily.
yeah,
Now, the Woodson breaks off from the tree, so to speak, of birds very, very, very early on.
yes. Well, from the
So they
other
really are very unique.
yeah, and they're also one of the offshoots that's not considered like what do they call them? Neo aves, which is like 95% of birds follow into the super mega major order, and that's where those all are. But this guy went off on its own. It has been
Just went
associated.
off, did his own thing.
Yeah, they've
Ah,
associated with they've associated with cuckoos. They've associated
but
with
they were wrong.
turacos.
But
What was
they were
that?
wrong. But they were wrong with the cuckoos. Originally, they associated with it, and then they genetically tested and realized they are not really related at
Well,
all.
it depends on the genetic test because the early, which is why
Ah,
the 90
yes.
the genetic test of the 96, which is also why I had to go into a deep dive because what happened in 98
Is that the being able to multiply the DNA,
PCR
the thank you,
polymerase
yes.
chain reaction. Yeah. So I knew that I was like, well, that studies they looked at the study that I originally looked at did classify them to them genetically closest, but all they were looking at was the DNA that causes the crystal, like basically it's for an optic thing, some type of
Thing.
protein crystallizing protein for the eyes. Anyway, they're looking at that very common thing, which also when I did bat research for evolution, I ran into the same
Love
thing.
bats.
So yeah, they did have genetic there, but then now they're pulled away. But the thing is, there's still just a lot of questions. The real reason a lot of people also were really questioning the why they got put in with cuckoos, because one thing with bird evolution, follow the feet is usually a good indicator. Not always, because we found like phylogenetic stuff issues. So cuckoos are 2 toes forward, 2 toes back.
Mhm.
And the Watson is 3 toes forward, 1 toe back, which is what a lot of other birds have.
Isn't that more like a chicken?
More like a chicken, more like
Yeah.
songbirds, stuff like that.
Okay.
Really, the only ones that I can think of off the top of my head that do 2 forward, 2 back are cytosines and cuckoos, which actually I
Okay.
think cuckoos might be cytosines. Parrots and cuckoos.
Yes, like when you hand a parrot a pretzel, which you're not supposed to do, but you do, and
Yeah,
they take it with their
yep,
4
they have the two
little toes.
forward, 2 back.
Yeah.
Owls are weird. They actually do something different. They have a third option, which is the one there's 2 forward, 1 back, and then there's one that's opposable and can go back and forth depending on
They
what
have
they
a
need to use
thumb.
it. Basically,
Well,
kind of a bird version of a thumb
some motion, but kinda,
thing,
yeah.
yeah.
Alright, so you were saying that all these cool things, the claws and all that stuff are not the most significant
That's
thing.
actually the least impressive thing because it's comes up so much. So that doesn't even like separate them off. And it since and because of the way their wings are, that's still already full bird.
Mhm.
So
And the
what they're
rudiment.
yeah, and the ruminant thing, that's the weird thing.
Okay.
That's its own thing
That's
because
its own. Well, I love the fact that they go and they eat, like, a ton of food, and it takes so long to, like, digest that
which
these
is
birds spend 80% of their time sitting around, like, digesting food.
you've
Another
literally
reason,
just described every species that uses leaves as their primary
right?
mode of yeah. Like, all they do is eat, and then, like, some of the mammals that do it get really good at it, so they can be a little bit more active, like, bovines and a lot of the ungulates that do it.
And then there's some
But
that are
if you really
absolute
look
and
at it, these
utter shit at it, like, the koala.
koala, uh,
Oh, are they
panda bear.
lazy
Yeah,
bastards.
yeah,
So lazy.
all the pandas. Like, basically, it just takes so much energy because of that cellulose to break down. Because basically, the cellulose is the primary sugar that they're going to use, or starch, I guess.
Mhm.
But it's not really. I mean, that's
So
why plants
birds
use it to
usually
protect
have to be
themselves. It's
fast to
really
get away
tough.
from predators, but
What
the
was that?
state bird, I said birds usually have to be kinda fast, kinda,
Mm,
to get away from predators, so they need those higher nutritional foods as to where these guys just smell so bad.
yeah,
They
and
don't
also,
have that many.
well, the other thing is, it takes a lot of energy to fly.
Mhm.
That's also why you want those. You usually they just want stuff that's easier to eat because it just takes so many calories to lift yourself off the ground versus just be on walking around and stuff. So
So
they're
people have said that they'll find Hoatzin
mhm,
typically because they will hear them crashing around.
yep, because they're clumsy.
'Cause they're clumsy. So yeah, I'm feeling a real kinship with this bird.
I mean, if you think about it though, a lot of domestic chickens and things are pretty clumsy birds.
Yeah, but
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 yeah,
these are exceptionally clumsy, like, the scales are yeah,
yeah.
they're pretty yeah.
But I thought it was funny when found out because they do look like a Turaco to me. So I understand why that link is there, but apparently they're not 100%. They're just their own thing. And they found more fossils that's helped because
Mhm.
the problem they had for a long time is they only had this extant
This bird, and
example.
they're like,
And
"What?"
then they had one skeleton that they're like, yeah, this is one of its past relatives. But people were like, we don't really know. It's like a really crushed up bullshit skeleton. We can't it's to say it's
There's
like finding the tooth and going, well, we found a human bone, and this is what the whole human looks like. You're like,
it's like,
you're
maybe not."
pulling a little bit more. But
But yeah, the
they
fact that
found
they're
more.
chewing the leaves,
Mhm.
unlike birds
And
don't
also, well,
masticate really.
yep. And they found bones of them, of extinct versions of them in North America and Africa.
Europe? Europe too, I
Or
read it,
sorry,
but
not
there was
North
another
America.
one.
I meant to say Europe. Europe and Africa.
Mhm.
Probably in North America. I didn't really see too. Well, yeah, no, I
But
did see those in
these did evolve from dinosaurs and reptiles after the continents were well on their way to shifting to where they are. So it's not
right.
like
Well, this thing is a full bird by the time these
yes.
species comes out. It's an early bird as
Mhm.
far as like its family being there. But
Yes.
but yes, it had fully formed before then. And there's a couple bridges that happened.
So
What they
there
really
were many of these
mhm,
creatures,
they don't yeah,
these
it-
ruminant, which is you know what? I wonder, birds and dinosaurs coexisted.
right.
It wasn't like dinosaur die, bird comes.
Mhm,
So, one of the prevailing theories as to why a lot of the dinosaurs died is because food.
yep,
If you think about something hitting the earth, something catastrophic hitting the earth or
yeah,
causing volcanoes and stuff to go out, blotting out the sun, plants can't grow as well. So a lot of creatures had to survive on seeds
yep,
and, eating other animals. So a lot of the herbivores, went extinct. So it's a possibility that a lot of their relatives, their cousins kind of thing, went extinct at that time too,
yep.
because
Well,
they were those leaf eaters.
They were the leaf eaters, and then also some of them are newer, and they think that they just got out competed in North America or in Europe and Africa because of the
Probably.
neo-avies. The neo-avies just out
Yeah.
competed them.
I mean, the Hoatzin have a very unique, baby
Just,
survival strategy. That's pretty damn cool.
and,
And without that, they might not have survived.
and
Kind of
also,
like the monotremes in Australia.
right.
Most of them got outcompeted by the marsupials. The two monotremes we have left were aquatic, and
Mm-hmm.
marsupials with babies don't do well in water with pouches.
Or wait, sorry, say that again.
That's okay, monotremes were in Australia. The
Right.
marsupials came in, outcompeted all of them. The two monotreme species we have left, the platypus and the spiny echidna, were both very aquatic, and monotreme or marsupials don't do well in
Oh,
water.
in water, so they didn't. Yep.
Yes, yes.
And
So they didn't go into those ecological niches.
right,
The spiny echidna doesn't use water anymore, but it did for a long
long
time.
time. Yep. And
And the
also, yeah,
platypus does. So, if you're a kangaroo, you're really
which
not gonna be jumping in a lake.
yeah.
Kinda
Well,
hard to get out.
actually,
Do they?
actually,
Do they?
they
Do
swim.
they?
Yeah, they swim them all the time.
With the joeys in the pouches too, or no?
I don't know about any doing it with the joeys in the pouches,
Because that would
but
be
I do
my
know that would make no sense to me. But I mean, I've seen them swim. They do
I mean, I
swim.
think it'd be comical them coming out and looking very
They don't do it
bloated because
super
it's full of
often,
their
but they
pouches
do
full of
it.
water.
Yeah,
That's the
they can
comical part, but I think more to that is the babies would,
drown.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's if they have a baby at the moment, but
that
depending
is.
on the season. But
But for an entire species to gain an ecological foothold in
oh
like
yeah,
a
it's more like
yeah,
an escape mechanism. They'll just dive into the water to get away from something and swim across
yeah.
on occasion.
Like a Hootsin baby.
Yeah,
So that's probably why the Hootsin,
and
they had such a good survival strategy for their young, and they probably
yeah,
put so much into those young, taking care of them for a couple
yeah. And
generations and stuff.
this one has been very successful. Like it's been around. It's like a very old species that it
Mhm.
it has not changed a lot. The one that survived, and nothing else has retaken its niche. Obviously, um,
Building nests over
which
rivers.
so yeah,
And
I went
and
into
I
a
don't
deep
mean to
dive.
say, like, that nothing in the river ever eats a Hootsin baby.
Right,
Like, crocodiles do occasionally. It
and
happens.
they actually
Yeah.
think they got to the Americas actually possibly also by rafting, which
Mhm.
rafting is a form of just spreading where basically like a very large chunk of vegetation ends up in the ocean or whatever for whatever reason, and it's literally growing and living, and things are on it that go with
Yeah.
it, and then until it hits another landmass, and the thing is, it's a big like people think of tiny
We're
little
not
log.
talking
It's
about
like
something that's like a 10 by 10. We're talking
no, we're
big
talking
mass.
big chunk of stuff, and it's all like interwoven with vegetation and vines, and maybe even chunks of earth. And literally, it's kind of a very small living island on its own, and
Kind
then
of
it
floating
crashes,
around.
and
Yeah.
then that's how it brings animals to another place. Um,
Yeah, because
but
as we
yeah,
talked about, these guys can fly. They're
yeah,
not exactly the best at it, though.
right,
They fly, short distances and then crash into a tree and then lay around the sun for some more. Like I said, I
right.
feel a kinship there. Uh, but
I
they're
mean,
colorful and they're pretty, and
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, they
I,
seem pretty cool. I know there is some fighting during mating season, but
they
otherwise they
look,
seem pretty chill.
yeah, they look so much like Taracos, though. I had it gave me PTSD looking at them.
I mean, just that blue and maroon, those just the really
Well,
pretty colors.
remember I said I worked in that aviary, we had a hand raised Turaco male
Mhm.
who hated male keepers and anybody who took care of them. So I had to go in there, and every day,
It would
he would
attack
attack me
you.
100% of the time. I just hear him, and then I'm like, where is he? Here he comes. And then he'd dive out of the I remember one time finally going into education, and I switched from the keeper side to the education, and I was giving a tour to our volunteers, and we were going in there, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to step out because if I go in, he's going to go after me. Then we decided, they're like, well, we'd like you in there because you know more about literally all these birds. Because I've just been working there for a few years there. And then I go in, and then we're like, all right, we made it through. I'm not getting it. And then suddenly I hear the attack call of the Turaco.
Damn it.
And then
You know,
suddenly
you
he just
really
lands, grabs my hair, and he's dangling by my hair in front of my face, biting my nose. I'm like, you little
And okay, so
bitch.
people who don't know, Turacos are not that big. They're
Not
about the
that
size
big.
of like
Well,
your
depends on
average
what people
cardinal.
are. It's well, this is a ladies' Ross Turaco, so he's
Little
actually
bigger?
he was about
Football size?
football size. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
about
okay.
football size.
A
That's a
little bit
good
bigger.
analogy.
Have you
He's about football
considered,
size.
okay, so everyone, I encourage you to go look up the Falcon fucking helmet.
Oh God,
Um,
God.
have you tried possibly a Turaco fucking helmet? If you were to wear a hat like that, maybe he would have given you some slack
He
or
would not mate with the
sperm.
females, so that was the problem. Like, we were trying, man.
So there was a while ago, there was a group of falcons, a species that wasn't really thriving well in captivity. Which, by the way, the Hoatzin do not do well in captivity,
Mhm.
and we're not quite sure why, but there's probably something, obviously something that humans are not providing them when they have them in
It could
captivity.
honestly, with leaf eaters, it's oftentimes like they are so interwoven with
Their
the
environment.
with those leaves that they're so specific that you have to have that exact species. And if
Mm,
it's not one that you're making, like, that's why both red pandas and especially giant pandas, which I don't even think there's going to be any giant pandas here pretty soon. China's recalling them all.
yeah, they're getting all recalled.
All giant pandas are owned by China, and they're mad at us for a Taiwan thing, so they're pulling them all away. But
Yeah,
no
and
matter what, you have to. And the thing is, it has to be fresh. Like, if you have a leaf eater,
that's right.
so literally we had shipments of bamboo come every
For
day
your pandas.
for our pandas,
Yeah.
um, and which
So
gets
maybe that's
really
it.
expensive because you
If
have
these
to
guys
freight it
really need it
because
fresh.
it costs a lot, and if it's
Yeah.
not fresh, then they don't do well. So that would be my guess, is that it
Okay.
has to do with their diet, and if these plants are, these are rainforest near river flooded plants that I'm guessing most people don't have
They're
orchards
probably
of.
kind of hard to get to.
Yeah, and also if you're doing it, like, and then also, would they thrive in where you are? Like, the soil needs to be
Right? I don't
right.
know.
Yeah, so I
I
don't
mean,
know
they're
how
used to a
difficult.
hot, humid climate.
My guess
Yeah.
is you'd have to actually have an orchard of these just to, like, trim the leaves off of on a
Maybe.
regular basis for them, and it would have, yeah, that because
They'd have
that's,
to have a lot of them too because they eat a lot to
yeah,
get just any
exactly.
energy.
All these are,
Yeah.
it's a really inefficient thing, so they are just
Mhm.
constantly eating,
Anyway,
and you
so back
can't
to the
let it go.
falcon fucking
But yeah,
helmet,
oh,
s
good lord.
which we'll probably go into. We'll probably
I
go into
tried
the
to save
species
us,
of falcon.
people. I tried to
No, no,
save.
no. So these falconeers, these people who breed these falcons and stuff, the males were not procreating with the females, and they're trying to save the species. So these brave falconeer men invented a
And
special
women.
helmet that they put it. You have to put it on a human head. You can't. It's got to be able to move. So these men invented this helmet that, I don't know, looked like a really good, sexy falcon vagina. Put it on their heads, did a little dance, and had to
It
sit while a falcon
it looked
fucked
like
their
a hat
head.
with a weird foamy,
There were a lot of
honeycomb
holes
on
in it,
it.
like,
It
yeah, it
looked
was
like a little
weird.
honeycomb of holes,
It's
yeah.
still used. It's still used.
Yes,
Falconeers will do this, and then they will get the sperm, extract it from their helmet,
and then
and
they AI another bird.
yes, and they'll create more birds. But this method saved like many different species of falcons that just weren't comfortable fucking, I don't know, in front of humans, but would fuck a human head.
Well,
I'm not quite sure.
here's the problem. The thing is, okay, no, I can tell you exactly what the problem is. It's the same problem that we had with that one that was attacking me. Why would he attack a male human?
It is odd. Like, I didn't know that birds really could distinguish sex.
Yes, they can.
Well, I mean, obviously amongst themselves, but I didn't know. Are they like dwarfs? I don't know.
Well, no, it's whatever you're raised with. So he was hand raised by a male keeper. So
Who
basically,
he
he
hated?
views male humans as competition because they imprint so much. So in
Oh.
the zoo field, we call that human oriented. And this happens a lot, especially with
So
primates.
he was looking at the female humans going, "Yeah, yeah, yeah,"
Yes,
and telling
he
the male
actually, and he would
humans to
follow them around and do the mating
interesting.
dance for them.
Oh.
And he never mated with the female, which is once again why we want the parents raising the kids as much as possible,
Mhm.
especially in rehabilitation, because there's so much learning that we cannot do. And if they over imprint on humans, when I worked at the kangaroo place, all of our kangaroos that were hand raised by the owners,
Mhm.
because they were
Just
upset,
sucked at kangarooing?
they were super rich people that just wanted to basically
Aw, their own
showboat.
little hobby farm.
Yeah,
So,
they
yeah,
consider
whatever.
themselves experts, but didn't have actually any degrees as much as the people
Okay,
that
okay,
worked for
let's
them.
not get sued.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, they don't exist anymore. I can.
okay, alright.
And I didn't say
Um,
any names. But anyway, so the thing was like the kangaroos were raised by them, and any of the male ones were human oriented. And it was bad, like real bad if the female owner that hand raised them came, because a couple of the males would just go into a horny frenzy. They get
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
erect immediately, and then we're in a fight with like the kangaroos because they were trying to go and hump her.
"Madam, would you
And
please put some clothes on and go
I remember
inside?"
one time she's like, "I'm going to give the tour today." Or I'm going to give the arena show today. So she's doing it. And then we're like, we don't want Derek to come out. We don't want him to come out. That's the male kangaroo she hand raised. And then
Yeah.
sure enough, like fucking clockwork, he instantly sees her, gets an erection, starts trying to,
Shabong!
like, grabs her, starts going to town. And then we have to rip this kangaroo off, get her out to safety. And then he's all pissed, like with a giant erection, dick out. And everything.
How
I'm
dare
like,
you?
"Fuck." He's pissed.
Very
But
interesting.
yeah.
So,
And then
also
a
for
friend of
all of
mine,
you crazy would-be "I'm gonna
yep,
tame a wild animal" people.
this is why we don't want you hand raising shit. That I had to
Right?
fight a deer because of this shit. Somebody hand raised a male buck. Luckily, it
Think
was
of
only a
the
year old.
people Whitney has had to fight penises of various species just
Jesus
because
Christ! Stop!
some
Stop,
human
Marta!
wanted to hand raise a
Yeah,
how
luckily
many
that guy only
penises have
had
you
like
had to
tiny
fight?
antlers, but me and the two guys like had to pin him down while we put him in a truck and then like chucked him out into a field somewhere. But he was, but the thing is, they will view the male humans as challenges, and then they will also, or just humans possibly as a sexual challenge, or they want to hump the human. I've heard of like other sexually
Oh, we
oriented.
have to do the dolphin study. We'll do a whole thing on
Oh
the
god.
dolphin study
Well,
where
and
they had a human woman engage sexually and emotionally with a dolphin to see what would happen.
oh god, I forgot that that's a thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it happened in America,
I
and I
know some
think
chimp
we're,
keepers.
what was it, in the '70s, I think it was? It was
I
within
don't
our
know, 60s or
lifetime, so
70s, yeah.
it was like 60s, 70s, they're just like, "Hey,
I'll
woman,
have to look.
would you jack it off?"
Yeah,
Excuse me. Well, it seems to really like you. Would
right.
you jack off a porpoise?
So oh god. I mean,
It was an
yeah,
interesting it was not interesting. It was actually very sad for all parties involved because
yeah.
there was
Well, have you
heartbreak and
okay,
loss.
so
I'm not even shitting you. There was
and then
heartbreak
there's
and
the
loss.
human-oriented chimps or
Ah,
primates.
yes.
Every time I knew one female keeper, every time she went into the room, they all would just start jacking off as soon as she came in. It's
I mean,
very disturbing.
as a zookeeper, do you take that as a compliment? I don't
I
know.
mean,
I mean,
right? Then
like, "Well, thank you. I did think I was looking
one of the ways
ravishingly
they
as
used
well."
to get semen out of an elephant too was basically they would just punch the prostate.
I've heard that there's
There's
a thing
videos of it. Going to town,
with,
shoulder deep.
bulls. Well, bulls, apparently, they will electrocute the prostate to get them to ejaculate.
Kind of, yeah, more or less. You got to
You know,
get
just
all the way in there, but you can,
so
yeah, I've seen where
gentlemen who
people
have to
do
get
that. Like,
prostate exams at the doctor's office, if you ejaculate, don't feel odd. It's natural.
it's normal.
It's normal to
It's normal.
ejaculate when your prostate gets prodded. It's okay. It's nature saying you're a good boy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, we started with the Hoatzin, now we're into prostates. Prostate ejaculation.
If this is your first episode, I apologize. In several other episodes, we said this is not for children. The swearing, a shit show, I think was one of the first things I said. Should have been your tee off.
Yes.
These are for adults to learn about animals too.
Yes.
Hey, so I have been kind of keeping track, and this is our fifth specific animal, and we had a 75% ratio of animals that were used to get human men hard going.
Oh,
I did not read anything about the Hoatzin being used as a sexual potent
only
medicine.
Those that have a scat kink, I guess.
A scat kink where you're just like, yeah.
Well, they smell like cow shit.
Yeah, they really do. They just belching shit everywhere. Just oh god.
I mean, there's somebody else.
So I think we may have brought this to our count to a 60% of animals that we've covered on the show being used for human. Guys, just it's God's will. Remember, it's God's will, isn't it? If you can't get hard on, it's God's will.
Just leave the animals alone. Leave the animals alone.
Really, stop eating frogs and buffalo. And stop. Just please stop. Love of Christ.
So anyway, really interesting bird. It made me go back to my biogeography days, which for those that don't know, that's basically taking biological systems and geographic systems and merging them together.
It's a super nerd class, not just a nerd class. A super nerd class.
It was great. I got an A.
Fascinating.
It was my first grad level class. I was like, I did good. I was undergrad class, and I remember the professor going, "You did better than well over half of the grad students in it." I was like, "Awesome."
And Whitney's going, "Because it was fascinating."
It was fascinating, but oh my god, the tests were horrible. I might got cramps because it was all like just essay, and you just wrote pages after pages.
Oh, okay.
Like it would be like, here's this vague question, write until you think you got it right. Like, fuck me.
Ow, that's painful.
Yeah, 3 pages.
I just
later,
remember.
Okay, second question.
5 pages later. Remember the little blue books? Hey, somebody tell us, are the little blue books still done where you actually have to fucking buy a little book covered in blue full of normal paper? You actually have to go to the store and buy these fuckers just so that you can turn in an essay?
Yes. Yep. I remember that. I wonder if those are.
Yeah, because they have iPads now. Yeah, you could look shit up though. You know.
I don't know.
Kind of like that one person who spent all their time, typing in all the answers to questions in their graphics calculator.
Yeah, and then you're like, you don't have time during the test to actually look that shit up on your.
Yeah, or like, you know what? You could have just learned it in the time it took you to do that.
Yep.
So that is the wonderful Hoatzin, who I feel a very strong kinship with.
Yep. Basically, only one.
Except the too much eye makeup. I don't do that. I'm gonna have
as far as where it goes in like the clade stuff, who's it's really, we don't fucking know.
There's a lot we don't.
Because we don't have enough information. We have one living species, a few really bad bones, some really good bones.
And some fossils, not a ton.
Yeah, they did do some biogeographic thing where they actually like looked at where the climates of various regions were to see what matches what we know about what they like, the current one. And that's how they kind of figured some stuff out. And then they did some DNA thing. Although also, this is one of those species that's really throwing away the clade simple idea, because one of the things that we think is why it's confusing is because some species back mate and hybridize. So we're starting to think that hybridization happens more often than we initially thought. So we can't think of it as a straight line, because now some of the new genes are getting mixed with other things that are in different offshoots, and then they like remix together.
So the old insult of your family tree doesn't fork isn't as isn't the end all be all. Your family tree circles is actually kind of a
Yeah, I
worse
mean,
insult
that's why also
possibly.
modern times to figure out which they actually started this with these guys too, is they were researching the parasites that are on them because the
Oh, cool.
parasites tend to be very specific, which is
Mhm,
also
mhm.
how we found out that humans have two different parasites with I think did I talk about this before? I
I
don't
don't
know.
remember you talking about
We
this
have
before.
we have head lice and we have mites.
Oh, you did, but
Yeah.
keep going, because I
So
can't
like
remember.
we can find out what the closest related relative is based on the closest relative of those parasites because they're so specific with the blood that they
So
drink.
so an ape that possibly has the same parasites as us is
Yes,
probably closer related to us
or
than
at least are yeah. So human head lice is unique to humans. Human
yay for
crabs.
us.
Human crabs is related to the same lice that gorillas have. So we were
Yeah, we're gonna have to
there's
do
a
another
possibility our ancestors were
there's so
just
many
a gorilla.
future episodes I wanna do. We're not gonna stop doing these. We're gonna get into the thousands because we're gonna have to do a whole episode on just the supposed sexually transmitted diseases to humans from different animals.
Oh god.
Um, the chlamydia koala.
Yeah, but
There's
that one's a myth. That one's
I know a lot of them are, but they're interesting enough. Now we found gorilla crabs, koala
yeah. I
chlamydia,
mean,
gorilla
technically,
crabs.
obviously, the crabs aren't the same anymore, but
AIDS were
their
supposedly from
closest relative is
chimpanzees.
those. What was that?
Um, I said AIDS were supposedly from chimpanzees. Herpes are from. I just heard it on the radio. They were joking about herpes being from a species. I can't remember what it was that
Herpes
humans.
is the problem with herpes is it's literally everywhere.
Well,
It
yeah,
has
and
existed
every
for a long
species
time.
kind of has their own.
Yeah. Um, we can look into that. We'll have to
We
go into
will,
some deep
but
dives
that'll
on
be
that.
fun. Join us for sexually transmitted interspecies.
Wait, oh God, no, no. Reword
Also,
that. Reword that. They're going to
interspecies
sound clip it.
sexually
Now
transmitted diseases.
they're going to sound clip it. Now we can't get into Congress.
So, also, by the way, animals can't consent, so leave that shit alone. Like,
Yes.
don't. Like, I don't
Why?
know. I have no. I got nothing else for it, but just don't. Don't
Ugh.
leave it alone. Don't. Like, I don't know. Look at pictures in your spare time. That's fine, but just don't actually involve the actual animal.
Just go away.
Oh
No,
God.
we're done with this. And on that note, I think
Eh.
we've
I'm so excited because I'm trying out, I've been saying, like, trying to come up with a way of saying goodbye because I hear that every podcaster type person always has, like, a signature goodbye.
a signature goodbye.
Like,
Uh-huh.
something they say at the end of an episode or whatever to let you know they really mean goodbye this time.
Right. Okay.
They're not gonna
What were you
talk
thinking?
after. I'm trying out new ones. I've been doing the "Mwah," like a kiss
Ah.
goodbye. I've been doing that, but I realized that I'm just copying another creator
So
that I
then we
listen
can't.
to that I think is she's fabulous, and I doubt she'd care, but she does that in her episodes.
Right.
So I was like, "Ah," so I gotta come up with my own.
Until next time on What the Fauna?
What the fauna?
What the
Yes,
fauna?
continue to say that. Just look at that. What the fauna? Yeah.
What the fauna?
Feel free to email us, send us ideas, give us your love. Don't give us your
Yep.
hate because I don't care. And,
Yes.
I'll just be like,
Oh, once we get this
probably
live,
nothing you can
hate
say
will
to
be
me that I haven't said to myself, but please don't try. Like,
yes.
please, like, maybe don't try. But anyway, until next time, where we talk about another wonderful episode or another wonderful animal, it will be led by Whitney, in which I shall, as always, be the student. But it'll be a wonderful time. So until next time, remember, no gods, no masters.
Oh.
That's what I'm trying.